Going live. That means we are on the air. Your phones need to be put away, please, while you guys are connecting to the Zoom room. And you'll be able to see my screen. So, especially up front where I can see that you're not in the Zoom room and you're definitely on a browser game website. You should probably not be doing that currently. All right. Phone should be away. Distractions should be minimized while we go through these syllabus real quick. Okay, I know, guys, I'm sorry. It is really boring for me to talk through all of this paperwork and stuff, but I want to have record of it and make sure that everybody's questions are answered before you go home and you take a document home to sign without fully understanding all the pieces of it. It's not that serious, but it is important to kind of do it in this method. See some chat stuff. Okay, cool. As long as the chat's not distracting, I don't mind what you guys are using it for. Let's talk about your actual syllabus here. So where's your thread? Okay, there we go. Your thread has been updated. So when you refresh your Canvas announcements, you will see the graphic design Friday 2-2 right here. It's exactly the same as it is on the screen, but you guys have an extra little thing right here that we'll get into in a bit. Ignore the QR code on the syllabus document that I show off. You're going to use the one below in the replies. We'll get there in a second. Okay, so to find your syllabus, you go to modules, and then you go to down here to Blakeney Graphic Design Syllabus 23-24. I'll also put the syllabus tab in the side here. But let's go over this real quick, briefly. Mostly hit the high points because I know you guys know how to read. But the basic gist of Graphic Design 1 is that you guys are going to get lots of experience in the programs Adobe Photoshop, Adobe Illustrator, and a little bit of Adobe InDesign if we have time. Graphic Design 2, if you continue down this path, talks a lot more about like the theory and some of the more client-based interactions with graphic design as a whole. But this class is mostly focused on getting used to the programs, getting used to some of the Adobe keystrokes and quirks and features. So it's a lot more of an introductory course than Graphic Design 2 is a lot more about theory. Okay, materials. It is recommended that you guys get some drawing materials. I have some around the classroom. I have some pencils and some paper. But if you want your own dedicated sketchbook, that would be a really useful tool for this class. It's not required, but it is recommended. And I have some materials I can get you to get started with. On top of that, we have some notebook or some drawing paper so that you have a place to actually draw some stuff on. We will be doing a little bit of drawing. It does not have to be studio art level. It just is kind of a sketch. It's part of the drafting process. We will be doing some typical drawing in here as compared to just software. You gotta have a desktop or a laptop computer with Illustrator and Photoshop installed. We have those all in the lab. They might be on your CTE laptop if you already installed them. But if not, you can do that. Remember, you can have up to, I think it's 4 computers, personal or business, that you can use to use these programs. It is recommended that you use your district supplied laptop because tech cannot service a personal device, and you will need your phone for not only taking pictures of projects or scanning things, but you will also need it for just general school-related stuff. And then moving on, I want to go quickly through some of the course policies. This is a CTE course, so that means that I'm bringing a lot of my industry experiences into this class so that you guys can be prepared if you want to go into a graphic design field or a field that is creative or visually kind of expressive. You'll get a lot of experience of what that's like outside of high school in this class. I try to emulate it as best I can. And as such, you should treat this classroom as your work environment where you practice. That means being respectful of your fellow students who are your coworkers, your teacher, who is me, who is also your supervisor, your manager, or sometimes your client. All important professional relationships to maintain. And this is your workspace. This is your office. You should treat it with respect. So whenever we're live, whenever the sign's on behind me, your ears and eyes should be directed at what I'm showing you, whether that's on the Zoom room or on the screen up here. Both work. But I need you tuned in when we are live on the air. I promise I don't yak the whole semester. You guys do have a lot of time. We just got to get a lot of the boring stuff out of the way. Okay. Questions are highly encouraged in this class. If you have me for Future Ready at all, you've heard me give this spiel a little bit. But I don't believe there's such thing as a stupid question. I think the stupidest question is the one you don't ask. And so there's lots of opportunity to be asking questions, to be interrupting me with how do you do that? How do I try this? Like, that's what I love to hear. I want you guys to experiment with things. I want you to do something wrong so that you learn from it. And you'll still get a good amount of points, even if it's not done exactly correct. I care a lot more about your process than I care about your product. It's a lot more effort-based in this class. Does that make sense? Before I move on to the honesty section, the academic honesty. All right, we got the obvious one. Cheating will not be tolerated and the school policies will be applied in full. If I catch you cheating on someone else's work, you will receive a 0 on that assignment. There's an asterisk on this because a lot of graphic design is gaining inspiration. It's gaining, doing similar things to other designers because you like the way that they look. That is not cheating. There's a big difference between being inspired and using references and copying directly. So things like looking at info online or tutorials is great. Brainstorming together with a friend is great. Having a friend teach you something, those are all great. Those are not cheating. Those are all encouraged in this class. And if you end up with a similar result because you had a similar kind of path, that's awesome. It just cannot be directly copied, pasted, or you using someone else's work and with your name on it. That is not acceptable. And violations will be reported to the appropriate admin in that case. These next two things are kind of AI related, but this last bullet right here, all content you create, whether that's text, images, or etc., must be school appropriate. You receive a 0 on an assignment that violates this policy. I will make sure that we chat, you and I, so that you're aware of what's not school appropriate, and we'll be communicating home just to make sure that everybody's in communication and we're all good at that point. Okay, AI generated results will not be accepted nor tolerated. You must be the one who's creating your artworks. Now, my other stipulation with AI, because it is something that unfortunately we cannot ignore. It is a future for the design world. It is the future for a lot of industries, and I'm not against it. However, you need to know how to use it respectfully, effectively, and ethically are my big things that are required out of AI. So AI is not banned from this classroom. You just cannot send me an AI generated result. And if I suspect your result is AI generated, you and I will have a conversation. And anything AI submitted will result in a 0 per our conversation from there. Yes.
So we can have like AI, like what will in the product or the whole thing.
Yeah, you can use AI as a tool, but you cannot use AI as the entire creative experience.
Photoshop.
Yeah, that's different. That's actually a use. I just mean like, you can't send me a, hey, ChatGPT, make me a logo and then call it your own. That's obviously not going to fly. But we'll talk more about AI and when we can use it and what's appropriate for this course and just kind of in general in the world, at least my perspective, later when we actually get more to that point. But I wanted to put it in the syllabus so that we're all on board with that. Okay. Any questions before I move on to late work and grading? We good so far? Okay. So late work, your work is due by the due date posted in Canvas. I will make sure to give you guys plenty of reminders and they'll be in the thread, they'll be in class when I'm speaking, and they'll be attached to Canvas. So there's 3 different spots that you can check out for when something is due. Typically, it's going to be due on Friday at midnight because I like to introduce projects at the start of the week, give you guys some work time throughout the week, and then we can finish it up on Friday so that you don't have homework over the weekend. However, sometimes late assignments do happen, whether that is, however they happen. But late assignments, whether they are 5 minutes late or they are 2 weeks late, will automatically incur a 30% late penalty. This is different from the way I've done it in semester 1, and this is much different from the way I've done it in the past if you've taken either of those courses with me before. So before I get into how that works in more detail, this is adjusted per IEP and 504 accommodations. If you have one of those, I will adjust it. I know I do that. You're not responsible for that. But the 30% penalty kicks in if you turn in a late assignment, any amount, up until a certain date. So these dates, there's 2 basic windows that we're working with that late assignments will be accepted until. So for example, every assignment we do before April 15th will be accepted up until April 15th. It may not be for full credit, but it will be accepted for a max of 70%. Does that make sense? Another example is any assignment given after April 15th will be accepted until June 7th. And anything before April 15th is a 0 in the grade book and is not accepted unless we have a pretty extreme reason, which you and I will talk about, and that's a separate thing. But this is generally speaking, late work is accepted up until one of these two dates, whichever is closest, and not after. So you have plenty of time. We have what? We have 3 months, 2 months. You can still turn stuff in from this first week by April 15th. You won't get full credit, but you can still turn it in and I will still accept it. Same thing goes for June 7th. That's when the last time we're going to be turning anything in for points. Does that make sense? Yes.
Can we ask for extensions?
Yeah. So that's a conversation you and I would have to have. This is just the general late work. But if we talk and we take note and stuff, yeah, we can work with extensions. But you will have plenty of class time to work on these projects, if that's something that you guys are curious about. Yeah.
You said before that usually how weeks are gonna go is the beginning of the week is like a community lecture and they telling us what to do on the project. And the end of the week is sort of our work time. So what part of the week would the project usually be due? Would they be due like Sunday night, Monday in class?
They're all going to be Friday at midnight. So you can work on them outside of class, or we have the block days, which I dedicate a lot to work time. And I really do most of my talking or my teaching on Monday, and that gives you your block day, Thursday and Friday to work on your projects. And the same thing too, if we need to have a conversation about an exception, we can do that, or an extension, I mean, not an exception. But typically projects are going to be due on Fridays. Sometimes they will be a week out if it's a big project. So we'll do a lot of work to kind of get introduced to the big project, and then it'll be due the next Friday as compared to the Friday of that week. Sometimes you'll have an extra week to work on stuff. That help?
Yeah.
Cool. How else are we feeling? Any other questions? It's making sense? Okay. I'm going to move on to the last little piece right here, the grading section. So this class being project-based, and since I don't like homework, it is really, really important that you guys get here and you get here on time. Attendance is mandatory. However, it is not graded, but it is mandatory. You should please be here. And you should be on time as best you can, because this is essential for you to do well and to maximize the class time that I am providing for you guys, and to maximize your interactions with me so that I can actually help you out with certain stuff. If you are sick or you otherwise must be absent, you can get notes from the thread or from your classmates, or you can reach out to me and we'll figure something out. That's why I like using the thread, is so you still have a chance to see what happens in class. You still have a chance to see the screen recordings and stuff. So you're not coming back totally blind if you have to miss a certain amount of time. All right, I'm thinking of rotating the seating charts every 4 to 6 weeks. Seating charts are going to start on Monday, so it's a month every month and a half. Give us a good variety of people to collaborate with. Give us a good variety of spots around the room, so everybody gets a chance to experience the whole 2207 classroom. But that I'm willing to work with you guys and see if that's too much or too little. I don't know. We'll figure that out. That's a new thing I'm trying out this year. And it's because it is important that you are able to collaborate with others and work with a variety of students in this class. One last thing on the absence policy: for days that you miss, you will be given appropriate time to catch up and turn in the projects or assignments, which is maxing at 2 weeks for class missed, and you can still receive full credit. So if you miss 5 days, you miss a whole school week, you get 5 days to still turn it in for full credit. It's equal one in, one out. If you're gone 1 day, you can just get 1 day, right? Pretty typical for Skyline, I imagine. The attendance and tardy policy, we just follow the Skyline version. They're in the handbook if you need a refresher. Now let's talk about grading. Since this class is project-based, projects are a majority of where your grade comes from. The other pieces are just as important though, even if they're not exactly the same amount of weight on your grade. 10% of your grade goes to participation, stuff like discussion boards, in-class activities, any extra credit that I provide that's going to go in that participation section. The next one, 30% is assignments. These are technically your formatives, where it's smaller pieces of a whole concept that are demonstrated in different ways. You will also have class time for these. And it's mostly practice of concepts, experimentation, stuff like workshops or critiques. Let me get rid of that. That's all 30% in the assignments category. Half of your grade, 50% are your projects. Those are your summatives. These are comprehensive demonstrations of the skills that we covered in assignments or in participation or in class. You'll have a chance to go a creative direction with that as long as it's sticking within a certain number of guidelines. That's 50% of your grade right there in projects. And then the last 10% is a final exam, which is a project and a reflection. It is a t-shirt or a sticker design is what we're going to do this year. Just so you guys can plan ahead, which I will be needing your shirt sizes on Monday. We'll figure that out later. Okay, I go by the whole letter, so it's a 10% difference. It makes it more forgiving in the A through D range. Anything less than a 59% is an F, and you and I will need to talk about how we can figure that out or how we can make that up. But if you're ever curious about your grades are your responsibility. As much as I would love to be able to check in with you guys one-on-one each, unfortunately, there's only one of me and there are like 200 of y'all. So I don't have enough time to dedicate the plan for each of you individually. However, if you're curious about your grade or you're looking to maybe improve it, come talk to me. We'll figure something out. We'll develop a plan. But that is your responsibility. You have to reach out to me. I prefer it in person because Canvas messages I will forget. They get lost. But both of those are valuable options to reach out to me. Does that all make sense? Any questions on my grading policies, requirements? Okay. So this course, ignore this QR code. This one's bad. This is first periods. Don't do this one. This course is CTE dual credit. If you've not heard of that before, this course satisfies a certain amount of credits from Bellevue College. If you earn a B or higher, you may be eligible to earn some college credit out of this single semester course. During this semester, all the college competencies will be covered for the course equivalency. Two things on this. If you're interested, this is optional. But if you are interested, you must register online using the statewide enrollment and reporting system, which is called ctesurs.org. And you are required to pay a non-refundable $50 fee to earn the college credit through the dual credit program. I will get more information from the Counseling and Career Center if you're interested in something like this, because I'm not 100% sure these links are still accurate. However, I do know that this course does offer an equivalent with Bellevue College. And if you're staying in Washington for college, if that's your path outside of high school, you can get a pretty solid head start by getting a couple credits ahead. Does that make sense? Okay, sweet. So your responsibility currently is to fill out this QR code with your parents or your guardians, because there's some important information for them too, by going to the thread here, Graphic Design Friday, open up the replies. This is your class's QR code with the circles, because the other one, I think it has just like curves, but yours is the one with the dots and the squares. That is how you're able to make sure that you and your parents are on board with everything I'm covering in class. There is some parent stuff. I would prefer you do it with your guardians, but if you know their information, you could do it now. But it's other info that helps me provide you guys with the best graphic design experience possible and with the best 2207 classroom management experience as well. Does that make sense? Anybody have any questions thus far? Okay, let's check out our thread. Last thing, while I'm setting up your seating charts this weekend, if you want me to consider something specific about where you would like to sit or where in the room you prefer to be, Canvas message it to me and I'll do my best to get your considerations in order. So far, everyone's been pretty chill, which is being assigned wherever. But if you do have something that you want me to know while I'm thinking about these seating charts, Canvas message me so I have a place to look back on it when I need to. Last thing, the remainder of this time, because we finished all the stuff I needed to get through, this is going to be work time. So if you're a new student, I'm helping you catch up on these activities here, the MBTI, the mood board, or the scavenger hunts. Since you guys are still joining, you're still joining the class, you have a couple extra days to finish these up. But But if you have been in class so far, you need to finish up these 3 by tonight at midnight, or else that 30% penalty will come into effect, disregarding previous accommodations. So I'll be able to help you with the remainder of our work time. We got about a half hour, which is plenty of time to finish these up. But if you've done all 3 of those, then the time is yours. You manage your time effectively. Your reward is you get to relax. That's what I got for the rest of the period. So does anybody have any questions on what I've covered thus far? Yeah. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna wrap up the meeting. We're going off the air, and I'll be able to help you guys after I process this and attach it to our thread. Thank you guys for listening. I do really appreciate it.
Okay.